The meat industry is stealing the money in your pockets by creating a problem that doesn't exist.
Beef continues to soar.
The price of beef is up 20%.
Beef, pork, chicken, it is all up.
High prices and empty meat counters across the country.
You might think you can get your money back, but that probably won't happen. Why? Because the game was rigged against you from the start.
The beef industry, led partially by Tyson Foods, is acting like a mafia.
The industry has price-fixing accusations dating back to 2015. It's not just a couple of regional offices jacking up prices. This is nationwide.
Several states are calling for 4 of the country's largest meatpacking companies to be investigated for possible price fixing.
Accusing them of price fixing.
A cartel of mega corporations makes the rules and sets its price. And as you'll see, their evil behavior doesn't only wreck your finances, it destroys honest, hard-working families.
They offer what they want. You can't go ask for what you want. You got to take what they
Executives of companies like Cargill and Tyson Foods hide behind spreadsheets and improving shareholder value to justify robbing you.
We will continue to optimize our balance sheet, which will give us optionality as we prioritize the delivery of shareholder value.
This is a complex web we need to untangle. But one thing about all of this is clear. The U.S. meat industry is among the most corrupt, greedy, and downright evil businesses we've ever seen.
We've never had food companies this big and this powerful in our history.
To understand how we got here, we need to understand the American farmer. You see, the meat industry used to be simple. A lone farmer walked their land and tended to their livestock. Meat, specifically beef, has been the beating heart of America. European settlers who came over with their livestock replaced bison with beef as the country's meat of choice. In 1900, the average American was eating over 100 pounds of beef per year. The farmer is central to America's early identity. They are the hardest working, most underappreciated people who help put food on our plates. These are people with families and legacies reliant on their land and livestock. But the meat industry has been wiping them off the map.
Yep. It's a legacy out there. It's not going to get any easier for these families. It's losing the legacy of the family ranch and stuff.
Megacorporations supply meat to the world. So, the food one farmer produces in rural Arkansas means nothing to them. They constantly find new ways to exploit this market. Beef isn't a symbol of the hard-working American anymore, and one shift in mindset has made this possible. Economics took over culture. Meat is just another commodity that rakes in the big bucks. Smaller meat processing plants gave way to huge ones. Today, about 85% of all beef on the market comes from just 4 companies. The big 4 of JBS, National Beef, Cargill, and Tyson Foods made a strategic choice to get that market share. They built massive plants that brought down costs, but lowered costs came at a steep price. When the COVID-19 pandemic changed health guidelines, large plants struggled. They were optimized to lower costs, not to adapt. Smaller, localized plants could pivot, but their costs were too high. This forced small farmers to rely on major corporations to buy their livestock. Ironically, the pandemic did wonders for the big players.
Tyson Foods in the last quarter of 2021, their net income rose from $469 million to $1.2 billion. That's one quarter, okay?
Farmers became completely reliant on them to buy livestock. But this is just the tip of the iceberg. The industry has a much darker secret it doesn't want you to know about. Imagine this. You're the middleman in a business deal. You buy a product from person X for $1 and sell it to person Y for $1.50. You pocket the 50 cents. That's your profit. Maybe other middlemen make more, but your lower pricing keeps you in the game. That's the beauty of capitalism at work, but it can get ugly real fast. Take the same business deal, but with a small tweak. You now know that person X has no one else to sell to, and person Y has no one else to buy from. There are also no other middlemen, just you. Would you still buy for $1 and sell for $1.50? This is the market the industry has created to rob you. They are the middlemen, person X is the farmer, and person Y is you. They contract out cattle rearing to small farmers, meat packers at high injury risk prepare the meat for distributors and retail, and then you buy it at your local grocery store. That's the simple version, but it gets worse. The meat industry has complete control over its supply chain. The small-time farmer, the overworked meat packer, and you, the consumer, are all part of this chain. Price rigging becomes possible if the industry can manipulate this process. Companies like Cargill or Tyson Foods allegedly wait for the right moment to throttle parts of the supply chain. When they put the squeeze on, either end feels the most pressure. That's farmers and you, the consumer.
The meat packers both colluded together to get the price of cattle down, and then instead of the price of beef going down, they colluded together to keep the pricing up.
You pay more for meat because the industry faked a supply shortage. It's daylight robbery. The meat industry is bending the backbone of American agriculture for its benefit. Without intervention or protection, how long before it snaps?
Because the company can do what it wants to do as far as pay goes, since they control everything.
This kind of price rigging doesn't start overnight. It begins with access to everyone's data and mountains of it. Why would these huge companies want to share their numbers with competitors? There's no logical reason for it, right? Unless a network of free-flowing information has been created just so the meat industry can rig its prices. Think about the kind of company that would have the resources or clients to pull that off. This has reduced farmers and their back-breaking work to numbers on a spreadsheet. You, the consumer, become a puppet for the industry, paying whatever price they set. CEOs maximize shareholder value and get fat bonuses. Meanwhile, the ones feeding the country, the farmers, fight to put food on their tables. Executives like Donnie King make these decisions. They don't see you working long hours just to pay for the bare necessities. The meat industry has found a way to hurt you and the American farmer at the same time. But that's not even the worst part about all of this. That overpriced chicken at the grocery store? A farmer like Timothy Bundren works tirelessly to get it to you. In rural Arkansas, Bundren got more done before sunrise than most of us do in an entire day. Half asleep, he walked his land every day before dawn, checking on his chicken barns. He didn't have to be up before sunrise, but he did it anyway. Why? Because Timothy Bundren was a Tyson Foods poultry farmer. He had pledged his future, his family's financial security, and his legacy to them. In turn, he believed the company would take care of him. As long as he did a good job, there would be food on his table and money in his bank account. That's what Tyson Foods had told him. Tim was at peace with the life he had built for himself. But one phone call that morning would change everything. 2 hours south of Bundren's farm in Springdale, Arkansas, Tyson Foods CEO Donnie King was settling in for another day of work. He had been with Tyson Foods since 1982 and finally found himself at the top of the food chain.
Tyson also announced Chief Operating Officer Donnie King will succeed him.
Under him, the company went global and earned a seat at the table in Asia's rapidly growing market. King is one of the most powerful people in the U.S. meat industry. Tyson Foods is his past, present, and future. Its 139,000 employees and countless shareholders look to him to steer the ship. In 2022, they needed him to do something about rising costs. King acted quickly. They had too many plants in too many places, costing too much in upkeep. When the time came, King started close to home. The numbers told him what was needed to maximize shareholder value. He needed to shut down plants and cut contract growers loose in Arkansas. But what does a small farmer in the South getting fired have to do with you? Well, this is just the first step in Donnie King's bid to con you. Shutting down plants means fewer farmers. Less farmers reduce the meat supply, which means even higher prices for you. This decision was catastrophic for small farmers like Timothy. At that time, Timothy didn't know that he was just a tiny piece of an allegedly massive conspiracy. On a morning like any other, Tim got a call that changed his life forever. He was told he would no longer be growing chickens for Tyson Foods. He couldn't believe what he was hearing, but that denial quickly gave way to the horror of his new reality. He had put himself in $1.4 million of debt to bring his barns up to Tyson Foods standards. The company insisted he had to do this to get a contract. Tim wasn't alone.
The companies keep the farmers under their thumb because of the debt that the farmers have.
Several farmers had debts as high as $2 million. In exchange, the company pledged to give them birds to raise until their loans were paid off. It should have been a win-win for everyone. Farmers got paid, there would have been a healthy supply of meat in the market, and the amount you paid would have been reasonable. How did it all go so wrong? With just one phone call from Tyson Foods, Tim's barns were emptied, his income disappeared, but his debt remained. This system is shocking. Would you put yourself in debt just to get a job with no guarantee of payment? That's not a job opportunity, it's a scam. Right now, farmers have no choice but to try to get a contract with one of these corporations. Companies like Tyson Foods can set whatever terms they want because they know the farmer has nowhere else to turn.
Either I sign it or I ain't got no chicken. Without any chickens, I can't pay any bills. I can't pay my mortgage.
All the financial burden falls on the farmer, while the super rich mega corporation jacks up prices whenever it wants to get more money from you. Tim Bundren had spent the last 6 years growing an average of 600,000 chickens for Tyson Foods. One call later, that number fell to 0. Tyson Foods lied to Bundren. Donnie King must have thought about what this decision would do to farmers, right? Not really. One farmer means nothing to a man like this. A year after canceling contracts and shutting down plants, King told investors they were already seeing big benefits. But the true insult to hardworking farmers like Bundren was still coming. King said, "The improvements are coming from operational improvements, operational excellence both in plants and in live production, and really driving out waste from the business." If that's all that farmers mean to the industry, imagine how little they care about stealing money from you.
The price of beef is up 20% from this time last year.
Tyson is big, very big.
King sat on the throne of a company that made over $50 billion in yearly revenue. Farmers were assets to be exploited to hit those numbers. That's been an unfortunate trend for American farmers over the last decade. The amount they earn for every dollar of beef sold has fallen from 62 cents to 37 cents since 2015. This drastic fall isn't just the cost of doing business. It's one thing to throw farmers to the wolves and bury them in debt to save your business. And the recent price rigging allegations change everything. The reality of this situation isn't just much darker, it's evil. That evil comes from how AgriStats has allegedly used the data it has collected from the meat industry. The company officially exists to help brands improve their profitability, but it's possible they decided to get their hands dirty. Think about the same business deal from earlier. You're the middleman, the product you're selling is information about an industry, but to get that information, individual businesses need an incentive to give it to you. So you go to persons A through Z and offer them a get-to-give setup. If they give you their info, they get access to everyone else's data for a price. That's what AgriStats has allegedly done. They have collected detailed information about the meat industry and then sold it to the highest bidders. The data is so in-depth that businesses can ask for sales information about specific cuts of meat. Why wouldn't Cargill or Tyson Foods pay top dollar for it? This is technically anonymous, but with such a high level of detail, it's pretty easy to put a name to the numbers. This is a blatant violation of the Sherman Act, which outlawed monopolistic business activity in 1890. That's bad enough, but numbers aren't evil by themselves. What they've actually done with this data is insane. The industry's biggest brands have allegedly worked together to throttle supply at the start of the supply chain.
There's plenty of cattle. There's plenty of supply of cattle.
The problem, ranchers told me, is that the meat packers have cut production, meaning they kill fewer cattle, leading to limited supplies in stores, and are now charging the highest beef prices ever recorded.
They can do this because AgriStats has given them the data they need. It's their dirtiest trick, an open secret no one has taken on at an industry level yet. A handful of people are fighting smaller battles to stop them. JBS has agreed to pay $83.5 million in a price-fixing settlement. Cargill paid $32 million to settle another lawsuit, with Tyson Foods also paying out $4.62 million. Why would innocent brands settle for massive payouts? Maybe they're willing to pay millions because there are billions to be made if nothing changes. All of these class action lawsuits tell the same story. Employees, farmers, and consumers are working together to challenge the meat industry. It has exploited every single step in the supply chain to get richer. You, the consumer, and farmers like Timothy Bundren have bankrolled those riches. But people are fighting for change. 2 Republican and Democratic senators tabled a bipartisan bill called the Cattle Price Discovery and Transparency Act. The bill aims to improve price transparency and maintain a library of publicly available marketing contracts. A second bill, also sponsored by multiple Republicans and Democrats, was introduced to enforce anti-competitive behavior in the industry. Both bills have been opposed by Julie Potts, president of the North American Meat Institute, and a familiar face, the CEO of Tyson Foods, Donnie King. Potts has alleged that the price transparency bill will punish the biggest companies in the meat industry. But if everything is on the up and up, why is transparency a problem? King has claimed that the basic laws of supply and demand are responsible for soaring prices, not market consolidation. Even if that's true, price rigging allegations mean that King and other major players have manipulated these basic laws.
It's time the DOJ do its job and to take real steps to hold Big Four meat packers accountable.
At this level of corruption, only legislation can protect a lone farmer like Timothy Bundren from the CEO of a multi-billion-dollar company like Donnie King. Right now, that's not the government's priority. Bringing down costs for you isn't important either. They are interested in only one part of the supply chain, and it fits right in with their strategy to rob you and exploit workers.
Efficiency is not an excuse for exploitation. And what's happening right now is the exploitation of smaller independent producers for the benefit of the Big Four.
The current administration has greenlit increasing line speeds in meatpacking plants. Working on the line at current speeds is already a dangerous affair. Being forced to work even faster will only increase the number of injuries. The likelihood of food contamination might go up too. If the government and the meat industry are only interested in more profit, why would they break up this monopolistic behavior? This isn't surprising. During the COVID-19 pandemic, the same administration pushed to keep plants open.
We're working with Tyson. We are. We're going to sign an executive order today, I believe.
Workers were packed into close quarters with all health guidelines thrown out the window.
Plant here is working at full capacity. You have to wonder, can they work at full capacity and still allow their employees to fully practice social distancing?
They had to deal with the injuries on the line and COVID-19 exposure as well, which was deadly in some cases. 70-year-old Enoch Benjamin should have been spending time at home relaxing with his grandchildren. Instead, the JBS employee contracted the virus and passed away because the company and the government chose profits over people. That's a bleak picture. Is there any sign of change on the horizon? Well, no, not yet. And there's a reason for that. The government prioritizes profits to show growth, but that just kicks the can down the road. They don't care about people like Enoch Benjamin because what's one life in the face of billions of dollars? This whole situation isn't just about the money for us. There are real lives on the line. There are families one phone call away from losing everything. Line workers one wrong step away from tragedy. As things stand, this could go one of two ways. The Cattle Price Discovery and Transparency Act can protect Timothy Bundren from an uber-powerful Donnie King. To King, Bundren is an asset with limited value, not a person. Or things can stay the same. Farmers remain a cog in the supply chain, and you, the customer, keep paying whatever price the meat industry sets. But there is hope. As long as we hold them accountable and push for change, the industry can't destroy farmers' lives. They also can't rob you blind by manipulating the supply chain. The supply chain is vital to the food industry. Your life is on the line when they don't pay attention to it. When that happens, deadly disease outbreaks, like the 3 in our last video, become inevitable.